good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Somerville, and I'd like to welcome everyone to day one of the API's Power Up Summit 2026. Today's theme, today's theme is Power Sector 101 and is designed for students who want a better understanding of the power and energy industry and where they might fit in. Across the session, you'll hear about why understanding the NEM is the key to your journey, and you'll also hear from some API program alumni whose careers show that there are many different pathways into a career in power. Wonderful. All right. I would like to welcome Claire Greenwood from AEMO, who is going to help us unpack the National Electricity Market, or the NEM, and why understanding the system is so useful for students who are considering a career in power. Claire is from one of our governor members, AEMO, and we want to thank you for joining us, Claire. So I'll hand over to you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks, Stephanie. So I find the most stressful part of doing these things is actually getting technology working. So I'm hoping that this is going to be seamless. I'll just have some slides that I will share. Yes, I think I've done that. I think we're good to go.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. All right. Well, the rest will be a breeze. So good afternoon. As Stephanie said, my name's Claire Greenwood. I am part of the Energy Education team at AEMO, and it's a pleasure to be here to talk to you all today. I'm just going to run through a few things that you can see on the slide, but really the purpose of the next few minutes is to really convey what AEMO's energy education is and what we do, and the resources that are available for you, and the benefits that we think of using them are. So a little bit about AEMO for those who aren't completely familiar with us. So the Australian Energy Market Operator. So AEMO is member-based, so that means, and it's non-for-profit. So our ownership is split between 60% government and then 40% industry members. So industry members being the generators, the retailers, the wind farms, etc. So we're the independent operator of Australia's electricity markets. So that includes the NEM, so the National Electricity Market on the East Coast, and that's the big part of the purple on the map that you can see, and also the wholesale electricity market in WA. We also act as the system planner for the NEM, so we help map out how the energy system needs to evolve over time. Using data modelling, we forecast how electricity demand and supply will change over time and identify transmission, generation and storage investments that need to keep the system reliable as more renewable energy comes online. On top of that, we are also operators of the gas markets across Southeast Australia, and you can see the areas that includes in green on the maps. And there's a subsidiary to AEMO, so ASL, and that stands for Oz Energy Services Limited. So it's an independent subsidiary of AEMO, and it was established in 2021. And the purpose of ASL is to provide advisory and energy services in a way that is transparent and separate from AEMO's core market operator role. So while AEMO operate the energy markets, ASL focuses more on supporting jurisdictions and government with things like program delivery and expert advice. So AEMO operates both the power system and the market. So the power system is the physical infrastructure that delivers electricity, so generation assets, transmission lines, substations, so that all the poles and wires and other equipment. And then the market is looking at the money. So it's the commercial side of the electricity sector. So it's where electricity is bought and sold, prices are determined, and how participants are settled as well. So starting on the left-hand side of the screen, so from a physical operations perspective, we operate the electricity systems in the NEM and Southwest Western Australia. And this includes things like monitoring supply and demand, voltage and frequency, and managing planned and unplanned outages and emergencies. So we really, in short, we try to ensure that Australian consumers, businesses and industry have access to secure and reliable energy at all time. So we are responsible for system security. So basically meaning the reliance of supply. So demand is met despite a contingency event within the network limits. System reliability, we're managing the availability of supply, so making sure there is enough generation and reserve to supply all customers, and it's 99.998% of the time, and that's per a reliability standard. So everything we do is within sort of a reliability limit, and there are rules and guidelines that we have to strictly adhere to. And then planning as well. So we're the National Transmission Planner. So we're looking to the future to ensure the first 2 dot points are met. And doing all this, we need to ensure we adhere to a range of different regulatory standards. For example, when a new generator comes online, there are lots of connection standards that they must meet to then be able to operate in the NEM. So now moving over to the right-hand side of the slide. So as the market operator, so we run the spot market, so we process all the bids and offers from generators, and then we dispatch the lowest cost generation within the capability of the power system. And I've got an example in a few slides' time to run us through that in a little bit more detail. We settle the market, so we're making sure that generators get paid and that retailers pay for that consumption. And we also are responsible for publishing certain market information. So there's so much information and data within the energy industry, and we make sure that we are providing as much of that as we can. So how we do all this. So AEMO has 2 operational control centres in place, which provide centralised control and can monitor the NEM power system from either one. So that means we've got 2 control centres. If one, for whatever reason, goes down, it doesn't mean that AEMO's capabilities stop. It just means that that other centre is able to take control and has full visibility of the NEM. In Australia, the National Electricity Rules, or the NER, they are what provide a common set of enforceable rules and standards that apply to the NEM and participants. So everything, everything that we do is sort of under the NER, and they were established by the Australian Energy Market Commission, also the AEMC, and are enforced and monitored by the Australian Energy Regulator, so the AER. There's so many acronyms in energy. So AEMO has a number of roles in the NEM as a power system operator and market operator. So as per the rules, the NER, AEMO is required to ensure that the power system is operating in a satisfactory state at all times. So that basically means that all plants operating within are operating within operating limits. So a certain voltage, certain currents, and have certain stability as well. We also need to make sure that the NEM is in a secure state. So that means if any contingency event occurs, the power system doesn't just sort of go all black. So we have lots and lots of measures in place to make sure that if something happens over there, it doesn't have a cascading event and turn everything black. And we also make sure that it's in a reliable state. So each NEM region has sufficient or adequate reserve levels to meet the supply and demand requirements in order to have a reliable network. So if reserves fall below mandated requirements, then AEMO take further actions as per the rules. So hopefully that gave you a little bit about what AEMO does. And moving on now, we're looking at what AEMO's role in energy education is. So as you might be learning, so the energy sector is incredibly diverse. So it's got many moving parts with a wide range of career opportunities. So for example, there are people working in government that might be developing policies and sort of in an office environment day to day. And then you've got engineers working at remote wind farms. So they're making sure turbines are operating safely and efficiently. And then between and around all these roles, there are thousands of other professionals. So data analysts, market specialists, electricians, environmental scientists, So energy education, our aim really is to be a sort of trusted source of information. So to help ensure that all these roles are getting the same information and have the same understanding of how the energy systems work. So there are 3 of us in the energy education team, and what we do is we schedule courses, we put courses together based on what we think is up and coming in the industry, what we need to be making courses on, what people need to learn about. We run them, handle enrolments, etc. And then within AEMO, we have subject matter experts, so technical people who do their sort of BAU and know what they're talking about, and they deliver a lot of the content for our in-person and virtual courses. My own career journey started about 20 plus years ago. So I went to the University of Tasmania in Hobart and completed a Bachelor of Arts, majored in tourism. Then I decided to go and explore the world for a little bit. So I moved to London, couldn't find a job at the time in tourism. So I actually took a job at Pearson Publishing. So they're a publishing company who also own an education side of things, and they write exams for schools, so write the exam curriculum. So I was part of the education team there who trained school exams officers. And yeah, did that for 5 years, came back to Australia with a training background, found a role at AEMO, and I didn't necessarily know a great deal about energy in Australia. In fact, I didn't know anything. But yeah, I've blinked and I've been here for 13 years. So yeah, it's always something new to learn. We do have, as you can see in this slide, we've got quite a few different courses, and they vary from levels of complexity. So they range from foundational up to extremely technical. So for example, someone new to the industry, we would recommend starting with our NEM e-learning, you can see down the bottom, or our NEM Basics short video course. And then they might want to progress into the next box up, which is our NEM overview, which is instructor-led. So, and then as the course complexity rises, the target audience becomes a bit more focused. So yeah, they get a bit more niche. For example, there's not as many people who want to learn about metrology for the NEM as there is wanting to learn about the NEM as a whole. And we have course fees for some of these courses, and then we also have a couple of free courses, such as the NEM Foundations e-learning and the NEM Basics, and I'll give you a bit more detail about that in a couple of slides. And we also have an e-learning course for the gas as well. And we're in the process, sort of the missing piece for our e-learning is an e-learning course on the WEM, so the wholesale electricity market in WA. And so we're in the throes of developing that now and hope to have that available mid next year. So one of the courses I do want to talk to you about today is the NEM Foundations e-learning course. And I'd really recommend it for anyone who wants a broad overview of how the NEM works. It's self-paced, so you can do it in your own time. It's free and it goes through 10 modules and takes about 4 hours to complete. And it's one of those things that you can refer back to. So if you are doing coursework or need some information for whatever reason, it's there. You've got it for forever afterwards. And then the next one is the NEM Basics short video course. So this is quite similar. The content is quite similar to the NEM Foundations e-learning, but a bit less detailed, and it's a different learning mode as well. So some people learn best through reading and pictures, and others like watching videos instead. So it's good to have a bit of choice as well. We find that a lot of people wait until they're working in a job before they start training. They sort of potentially realise what information they're missing and then go fill the gap with a course. But I'd really recommend you to do this as an undergraduate because it's sort of, well, there's sort of nothing to lose in terms of it's free. It gives you context and strong examples to talk about in interviews and weave into any coursework. And it is something, like I said, something you can revisit too. And you can also then sort of progress. Once you do get into a job, you can progress onto a higher, not a higher, but a potentially more detailed course. So I do really recommend these 2 courses. And to give you a bit of what I thought would be useful is to give you a bit of example of the type of information you could learn about rather than just telling you about our courses. I'll sort of give you a little sneak peek into an example of some of the information in there. The one I'm going to talk about is the money side of things, because everyone likes talking about big sums of money going left, right and centre. So we're going to use the spot price and dispatch as an example. So here on the left-hand side, we have 3 generators. So we have a solar farm, a coal-fired power station and a battery. And what we really, and hopefully you can tell which one's which by those pictures, by those icons. And what we want to do is see how the price is formed every 5 minutes. So we have power in megawatts, so quantity, that's along the bottom, and then dollars in megawatt hours running up the left. So firstly, I'll talk you through how demand is set every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes, AEMO calculates how much electricity consumers across the grid are expected to use. So this forecast is based on real-time information such as weather conditions, historical consumption patterns, the time of day, and current demand trends. So energy generators then submit their offers indicating how much electricity they can supply and at what price. So they can essentially bid between the market price floor, which is minus 1,000, and the market price cap, which at the moment is $20,300, and that's indexed each year. So if we put that together, you'll see there AEMO starts with the lowest priced offers and then stacks to the highest priced offers to make the supply curve. So the important thing really is to note that we dispatch the lower priced offers until we meet the required demand. So there's the demand line. And then everyone dispatched is paid the market price, which is set at the marginal price. So that last bid that gets partially dispatched is from the coal generator, and that sets the price at $50. So everyone below that line will get paid $50 for the megawatts they have dispatched. So it incentivizes everyone to bid the cheapest energy possible. And then anyone above is, anyone above that is not dispatched forms the reserve. So like I said, this happens every 5 minutes, and it's not just someone at AEMO manually getting all these bids and offers, calculating it in their head and pressing a few buttons to tell generators what to do. We have a very sophisticated and smart system called the NEMD. So that's the NEM dispatch engine. So what this does, this machine collects bids from generators, so how much they want to produce and at what price. NEMD has within it all the demand information, so like the forecasts with time of day, historical trends, etc. Everything it sort of needs to know to then run an optimization and let generators know who will run, how much each will produce, and then the market price at the end of it. So this happens every 5 minutes. So it used to be 30. Sorry, it used to be, it's always been 5 minutes. It used to be settled every 30. Now it's settled every 5. And one question we regularly get is, why would a generator bid a negative price? So there are a few different reasons, and it depends on the generator type, but one reason is that while it might seem counterintuitive, there are situations where it does make commercial sense. So some generators, particularly large coal-fired power stations, they can take many hours to shut down and restart, and at significant cost. So as a result, they might actually bid at a negative price. So that increases the likelihood of remaining online during periods of low demand. And by continuing to generate, they can avoid the operational and financial costs associated with shutting down, and then later they can ramp up when the prices recover. All right, that is me nearly done. So hopefully I've piqued your interest just a little bit with what is available to learn in the NEM e-learning course and the NEM Basics course. So API have the courses available on their learning management system, so you can reach out to API if you want to enrol in either of them. This slide really just looks at other resources on AEMO's website. It is a good, we've got a lot of information. We do publish a lot of information, but it is a good resource for you. So we publish a lot of major reports, but these major reports, they can be 100 pages long, but you don't need to look at the 100 pages. We always have an executive summary at the start, which summarizes all the key points. And then also another one I'll draw your attention to is the data dashboard. So there's a lot of data going around, like I said before. We try to publish as much as we can. A lot of it is sensitive, but anything that we can aggregate or de-aggregate that isn't sensitive, we try to do. And this is things like forecast data, pricing data, etc. So if you do need any data for coursework, there's tools as well to play around with it, and it also becomes available in Excel spreadsheets. So this is data that you can download yourselves and then put together in graphs for your coursework, etc. So I recommend having a look. So that's me really. I hope I've inspired you to do some training on the NEM. It's available to you, and happy to take any questions on energy education.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Claire. That is it's really interesting how many resources AEMO actually have. I was on the website not too long ago looking at cybersecurity regulations and stuff and recommendations. And I was just like, what? There's just so many, just so much out there that you can use. I want to encourage everyone online today that if you have a question for Claire, excuse me, to use our Slido, please use that QR code, or you can join by going to slido.com and using that code. While some of those questions come in, I just thought I would share that we have free access to our undergraduate and PhD postgraduate community, so student community. For the AEMO NEM Basics course. And I'll just go back. Someone's just asking for that code. There's that code. And so it's normally $35, isn't it? $35 or $40 that course for industry professionals. But we offer it free for our student community, and you can scan that QR code and register. We have to obviously make sure that you're eligible to access that course through us for no cost. But as Claire was saying, there is that other NEM e-learning course that is available through AEMO, and that's fantastic. So if you're interested in doing that course, let's go back and see if we've got any questions. Let's have a look. Let's go back to that code. All right.
And if anyone thinks of some questions afterwards, I'll just put the energy education email address in the chat if you like.
Yeah, fantastic. So we've got no questions so far. Right. But, here we go. Look at them all coming through. So we have... what is your favourite part of working at AEMO, and what is the reason behind working at AEMO?
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you. Yeah, I have been here for 13 years, so I should, you would think that I do enjoy it. I've just enjoyed, a large part of it is actually who I work with. So as I said, there's 3 of us in the team, and we just all sort of get along. We've been the same team now for 7 years, so that it's been the same 3 people for 7 years, and it's really sort of, what's not kept me here, but it's one of those reasons that I love it. And another one is, in my particular job, I get to travel a little bit. So I do, we run courses in Brisbane, we've run them down in Tasmania. We've got, if we get an organisation who wants a personalised course, we sort of go to them. So there's a bit of travel, and it's just, meeting new people with that travel as well, and seeing people always sort of walk out of a course, I'm pretty sure having sort of had a couple of light bulb moments, which is always nice to see as well. So it's a good place to work.
Yeah. We've got some more questions. So we'll quickly go through them. For an ideal candidate to join AEMO as an electrical engineering intern or graduate, what are some things you think they should have? And we should preface this by saying Claire's not in the recruiting HR team. She is in the education team, but hopefully you can answer that.
I can't, but that is why I've hopefully got a couple of my colleagues from early careers with me, Rachel or Maddie. I think Rachel's just come off mute. Hi, Rachel.
Yeah, hi Claire. Thanks for having me along. Hello everyone. My name's Rachel. I work as a graduate program manager here at AEMO. And yeah, it's a good question. So we have a graduate program and an internship program, and we take electrical and mechatronic engineers. And yeah, everyone who applies for our program is obviously very smart. You've all very technical minds, and have the degree. But really, especially for our graduate program, when we are making our selection on who to pick, we're really looking at those soft skills, because everyone's technical and smart. So we differentiate on soft skills like communication, working in teams, and ability to sort of learn on the role, and that agility to rotate into different teams every 6 months on the program. And yeah, I'll just mention that also our internship program is opening up in probably July. So look out for that as well. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rachel, for joining. Thanks, Claire, for inviting Rachel to handle these curly questions that we can't answer. We're just going to do one more question. What skills will be most in demand in the energy sector over the next 10 years, especially with the recent energy transition to more sustainable options?
Another good one. I think it's kind of what Rachel said as well. So obviously we're moving more towards renewable energy. So it's sort of the skills within that, sort of forward thinking. I know from AEMO, forecasting is huge. But it does feel like those soft skills as well. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else to add, Rachel, what you see.
Yeah, good question. Maddie, I might throw it to you. Do you have any extra thoughts that I might have missed?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Maddie. I'm also another grad program manager at AEMO. That's how big our program is that we need two of us. In terms of skills, I would say over the next 10 years, it's been really interesting. I've joined AEMO in 2022, not as long as Claire, but been here a couple of years. And it's across the industry, not just AEMO, there has been a real shift towards the soft skills. I know that we've constantly referred to that, but I think that should give you a bit of an insight into how critical they are, as the industry is changing at fast pace. We obviously need technical expertise, of course, but we need people that are able to communicate really technical concepts and ideas to people that might be in HR like myself, project managers, to non-technical people. So I guess ability to communicate is really important, and I don't think that will ever go out of importance. Soft skills, agility, so many skills, I guess, that we'll need to help the transition. I hope that is a good answer.
That's fantastic. Thank you to all three of you for coming on today and sharing a little bit more about AEMO and AEMO education. If everyone knows how to use their React button on Teams, let's give a round of applause for Claire, Rachel and Madison. Thank you so much for your time. We really
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. We are going to move on to our day one panel, which includes 4 of our alumni, so people who have been involved in the API programs. The session's called Power Moves, where power can take you, and it's about showing you that no 2 power careers are the same. You might study the same degree at the same university, but where it takes you is completely up to you. So we're joined by Shilpa, Jordan, Cassandra and John. Hopefully you are all online. Please make yourself known. so that we can spotlight you and turn your cameras on. So they are representing Transgrid, Tas Networks, Wilson Transformer Company, and Synergy, all members of the API. So I'm going to start by asking each panelist to briefly introduce themselves, their current role, and one thing about their pathway into power that students might not expect. And then we'll start moving through a few more questions and then open for Q&A. All right. Hi, Shilpa. Hi, John. Oh, John's on the field. Look at that. Coming to you live from, where are you, John?
How you going? I'm in the north of Tassie in Georgetown substation.
Wonderful. We also have Jordan and we just need Cassandra. So, John, do you want to start us off with, who you are, who you work for, and one thing about your journey that may not be something, usual?
Hello everyone. My name is John Tope. I'm working for Tas Networks, and I have been working here for maybe almost 4 years now. I'm a senior field engineer is my title, so I spend most of my time out in the field. And just today we've been commissioning a new breaker here at our Georgetown substation. I was an API student during uni and found it very rewarding, and it was quite an easy transition to getting my role in this team. Something that would be surprising for me was I was really not that interested in technical things, and I found it really beneficial for me to get involved in more like engineering societies and things during uni and those extracurricular, people management event kind of spaces, which has been quite helpful for me now, working with lots of people on site and more trades-based stuff.
Fantastic. Let's go over to Shilpa. Shilpa, do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shilpa. I'm a senior engineer at Transgrid, and I'm working in the network connections team. So I was part of the API bursary program from 2013 to 2016. I did a Bachelor and Master of Engineering at NSW. I also did one internship while I was an undergraduate through the API at Transgrid, and that sort of eventually landed me in the job that I am in right now. So that was on a similar path. One surprising thing about my career journey so far is that the job that I'm currently in didn't really exist while I was an undergraduate student. So a lot of things have changed in the industry. It's an evolving space. So, by the time that you graduate, the current graduates now, you might be doing something that doesn't exist yet. So the needs are changing as you go.
Wow. That is very interesting. We're going to go over to Jordan.
Hi,
everybody. Who are you, Jordan?
Who am I? Well, as Steph has pointed out, my name is Jordan. I actually graduated from mechatronics at RMIT last year, so was one of the many lucky API bursary students until the end of last year. I'm currently working as a mechanical design engineer at Wilson Transformer Company, where I've been fortunate to have kind of evolving roles ever since I did my API placement here almost 3 years ago now. And as far as something unexpected about my career trajectory, I actually flipped from a background in psychology to pursue engineering.
And I'm sure that psychology learning will probably help in engineering, dealing with the diverse range of people that you probably have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Potentially.
Oh, look, absolutely. And I think we've heard it in some of the various presentations to this point. Absolutely, the way that you interact with stakeholders of all kinds is really important. And for myself as well, I see engineering as like psychology, but different to psychology, a different way to help people at the end of the day.
Mm. Fantastic. And now over to Cassandra, who's joining us from the West.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name's Cassandra. I am an electrical engineer at Synergy in their future energy team. So I mainly work with distributed energy resources, so residential and community solar panels and batteries. I would say one thing that is surprising about my career so far is that my very first internship, so this was before API, before I got the bursary in 2018, I applied for an energy and power role in Oricon. But when the HR person called me, they said, "Oh, you applied for the buildings role, right?" So at the time, I didn't have any other offers, so I just said, "Yep, that's me. I'm going for that job." So I guess it just goes to show that you don't always have to be necessarily in a power role, and all the skills are very transferable. And I was very grateful for that internship as well, because that gave me a lot of skills and experiences.
Fantastic. We're going to move on to the next question. And Cassandra, you might have answered this a little bit, and we'll get you to go first. When you were at university, did you know you wanted to work in the power sector, or did that interest develop over time?
Yeah, so I had quite a strong interest to work in the power industry. At school, I learnt about renewables, so that concept completely fascinated me. And when I spoke to careers counselors in school and in uni and older students, they all recommended engineering as a career pathway, and they specifically mentioned electrical and mechanical engineering as well. So I guess I did have a target that I was working towards, but you don't necessarily always get your target the first go. So I only managed to get into power later. So my first role in power was at GHD as part of the graduate program there in their renewables and generation team.
Oh. What about you, Jordan?
Probably a very applicable question for me. The answer would be which time. Obviously, when I did a Bachelor of Business with a major in psych, it wasn't at the top of my priority list. But certainly once I'd sort of explored that route and realized it wasn't for me, one of the main things that drove me to come back to uni actually was, like I said, I wanted to use technical work and innovation to help people, and I saw the growing shift toward renewables as being one of the most pressing opportunities to do that. So yeah, absolutely. By the time that I came back to pursue engineering, the power industry was one of the most compelling options that I was aiming for.
We're going to cross live over to the field in Tasmania. John, did you always know you wanted to work into the power sector?
No, I did not. I had no clue. I remember just joining engineering thinking, oh yeah, this will be good. I like maths and I like learning how things work. And so I had no preference I didn't know whether I was going to do civil, mechanical or electrical. Yeah, and then I decided to go down electrical. I thought it was interesting, and I had heard that there would be lots of jobs in electrical. And then went down that path, and a few years later, I just slowly through uni and through what I studied, I learned that power was kind of the path I wanted to take.
Cool. And lastly, Shilpa.
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to work in power because I really enjoyed physics during high school. But then when I was in uni, it wasn't the energy transition hadn't really started taking off yet, so I didn't know that I would be able to work in renewables. But through doing some like the summer internships and all, then I started getting an idea of what power would look like in the world, like a career in power. And so that sort of solidified my path. Like, I guess I really want to work in this area, just generally because electricity just changes our lives. It's the most important one of the most important utilities that we live with right now. So that was why I wanted to be in power, but even more so because of the renewable, the clean energy aspect of it too.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. We're going to stick with you, Shilpa, and I'm going to ask you, as you're probably the most senior of the alumni that are joining us today, what does your current role look like day to day, and what kinds of problems do you help solve?
Yeah, so I'm at TransGrid, which is the owner and operator of the high voltage electricity network in New South Wales and the ACT. So I'm working in the network connections team. So what we do is we receive the applications for large scale wind farms, solar farms, batteries, and most recently data centers. All of those applications, technical applications, come through our team. And so what we do is that we would review all of these applications against technical standards to see if they can, to make sure that we can connect them safely and reliably to the network. So we're basically in the center of this transition, in making sure that it's happening smoothly, that there's no glitches to anyone's power supply while we're undergoing this transition. And so I'd say that the work is like 50% technical, 50% project management. And some of the problems that we come across are technical problems, the customers having issues with meeting certain performance standards and so on. So we work with them to see how we can make sure that they can resolve these issues and connect reliably to our network. So that's what I do in a nutshell. It's really interesting work.
Yeah, it sounds like it. We're going to go to Jordan. Your role, I think, is quite different to some of the others. What does it look like in the day-to-day?
I think you're right on the money there, Steph. So my role, I find it a very interesting mix of what I like to think of as working with both external and internal customers. So the external customers is probably what you might expect. I work in a kind of a multidisciplinary team. I myself being the mechanical engineer, there'll be an electrical engineer and a control systems engineer, and we'll work on what you might expect, designing a transformer that meets our customer specifications. For example, I recently was working on a unit that's going to a metal foundry in New Zealand. So that looks at my role isn't so much the electrical functionality, but looking at, is it structurally integral? Does it meet standards with regard to, if it experiences an earthquake? And that's always really interesting, getting to interact with what the industry in a broader sense. But I also have the interesting opportunity to work on kind of internal projects as well. So having been here for more than the second half of my degree, I actually did my capstone as a research project in-house, looking at fluid mechanics and how to improve the design of our cooling systems to make sure that our transformers are more efficient. And so a great deal of my work is also looking at both how to improve our designs to make the transformers more efficient, but also how to improve our systems that feed into the design and manufacture to make the business more efficient for the same application.
Yeah, good. It's interesting coming from a different perspective of Jordan works at the Wilson Transformer Company. So he is, they're a manufacturer of a huge part that is needed within the power sector. So yeah, interesting perspective. We're going to go to Cassandra. Cassandra, what does your role look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, so my role's pretty varied, so I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. Being based in distributed energy resources, I guess the main problem we're trying to solve would be, I guess, balancing that supply and demand. So people here might be aware of the duck curve problem. So not much demand during the day, but a lot of demand at night. And utilizing distributed energy sources can help with that problem. So for example, you can charge your batteries during the day, create demand on the grid. And then at night, you can discharge your batteries and create a sort of power source at night. So I would say that's the main problem that my team's trying to work on or solve. So there's a few projects from that area. There is the rollout of the WA battery rebate. So part of my role in that is to do inverter compliance testing to make sure that the inverters installed have some kind of remote monitoring capability. And then the other project is Project Jupiter. So that is a joint project with Western Power, AEMO, and EPWA. And that project is accelerating the integration of virtual power plants. So virtual power plants is just a very fancy way to say we're going to manage multiple DER systems at the same time. And yeah, so make them all charge and discharge their batteries all at the same time. And then other than that, so I guess the day-to-day usual electrical engineering stuff, so installing batteries, checking designs, reviewing designs, communicating with stakeholders. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Just a side question for the three of you that have gone. Do you guys get out to site much?
Yeah.
Yep.
So some of the community batteries that we are installing in schools, so we have 3 of them in Kalgoorlie and 4 of them in Geraldton. I've been out to site to inspect how the construction was going. So I would say yes. It depends on the project, but yeah, definitely there are site visits.
Yeah. Jordan, do you get out?
I haven't been to many. I don't believe I've been to any customer sites as yet. From a mechanical, from a design perspective, that's more in the event of, if there's repair work or something like that needed, which thankfully not a great deal is needed. But I would say, like in a similar but a different vein, there is a fairly practical element to my role, given that we are a manufacturing facility, and so I am on a different kind of site every day. The thing that we design is built just next door.
Yeah. Yep. And Shilpa.
Yeah, I have been on site to see quite a few of Transgrid's network and different substations and so on, but also have been to some of the projects that I've been working on. So I've seen it on paper, and then it's really satisfying to see it in real life, and seeing a solar farm that I've only seen on the screen for so many years, and seeing it actually function is very satisfying.
Yeah, it would be seeing it from like almost sketch to implementation. So we're just going to ask John that last question. What does your current role, day to day look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's always variable, but I probably spend 3 days a week on site and 2 days a week in the office. And yeah, so today was 3 things happening on site. There's something that's faulted. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with it. There's something brand new being installed. We've got contractors here commissioning it, and there's some batteries in the substation that are being routinely tested. And so I'm just here. It's just a very busy day today, so I thought I'd come along and watch and learn on those things, help support with some of them. And yes, I'm going to be signing off to say, yes, we can energize that breaker for the first time.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but yes, we'll spend, and then I'll go back to the office tomorrow and write it all down.
Yeah, yep. So it's a balance of being out in the chilly Tasmanian weather and back in the office. Just before we get to our last question, I just thought I would put up the slide for questions. If you have some questions for our panelists, we would love to answer them if we have time. But the last question for this wonderful group of alumni is, for students still figuring out where they may fit in the power industry, or what they kind of are interested in, or what they want to sort of pursue within university, what is one piece of advice that you would give them? We're gonna start with Jordan.
This again seems like a very well pointed question for me. How to boil it down, it would probably be never stop searching with the knowledge that it's never too late. I think there's really a fine art to knowing when a fit isn't quite right, particularly once you're out in the workforce and you're making money and you have the obligations of adult life, it can be very easy to get stuck in the status quo, and it can be really frightening to pursue something new. But I think my best advice is that you owe it to yourself to be constantly reflecting on how your role complements and adds to your life. And so, like, it's important to understand nuance to this. The right fit isn't perfect. There'll be parts about any role that you don't love. And as with clothing, the right fit is going to change over time as you grow. So continuously reflect on how this role plays a part in your life, how it facilitates the aspects of your life that are important to you, and be brave or be courageous to take the risk when the time is right, knowing that it's never too late. That's very much been my experience.
That's great advice. We're going to go over to you, Shilpa. What's your advice?
My advice would be that just remembering that your career is a journey, it's not a destination. So just as Jordan had mentioned, the right fit is going to be different when you're first year of your career, and 5 years time and 10 years time, it's going to look very different. So rotating through different roles, trying to see different roles that are out there, trying as many different things as you can will be of benefit. And if you find something that you don't like, then that's not necessarily a negative either. It means that you are more in tune with what you do like, and so you can move in that direction and leave it behind what you didn't. So there's a lot of different opportunities in the power industry. I think there's a diversity of roles as well. So there's something in there for everyone that would suit everyone. So yeah, try as much as you can, and don't be afraid of making mistakes.
Fantastic. What about you, John?
My advice would be to, if you don't know what you want to do, just ask more people and talk to more people, and they'll have an interesting opinion or thought on what you could do. And it could be your lecturer, it could be someone in the industry, and it could be other students. Everyone's got some sort of experience. So yeah, ask more questions. And even if you need to send an email to an engineer, me, anyone in this meeting, sorry everyone, and they can ask you those questions too.
Absolutely. I positively agree that sometimes you don't know until you meet someone and go, oh, I want to do that. And, I think that's one of the beautiful things about the Power Up community is that, connection we can offer. And last but not least, Cassandra, what is your advice?
Yeah, I reckon everyone summed up really nicely the thoughts that I had in my head on this question. I guess, yeah, don't worry about figuring it all out. Kind of follow what feels right. And also, like people said, you can always pivot, say yes to opportunities, ask lots of questions. Yeah, and I think have fun as well. Like I think Shilpa said, it's a journey, it's not a destination.
Yeah, I like that too. That's really good. I like that. We're going to go over to some of our questions. We probably only have time for a couple before we wrap up the day one of the Power Up Summit. So the question is, what is one mistake that most newcomers in the energy sector make, and how can we avoid making that mistake? And I think I'm going to go see if Shilpa has an answer for that.
I think one mistake that some people would make was to sort of think that, okay, you come out of uni and you think this is like what you want to do, and this is the only thing that you can do, and this is the only thing that you like, without trying as many different things as possible. So try to sort of break your own sort of preconceived ideas of what you might be able to do, because you might surprise yourself that you can do a lot of different things, and there are so many different skills out there, and it can go well beyond just your technical skills. And in one particular area, you might find that you haven't even thought of something that you haven't tried yet. So yeah, keep your mind open.
Fantastic. Cassandra, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to voice your opinions and give feedback as well, because even though you're early in your career or maybe you don't have enough experience, sometimes that fresh eyes and fresh perspective is what seniors and managers are looking for. So definitely don't be afraid to kind of contribute and say what you think. And then the other thing I would say is just ask questions. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Keep digging, and yeah, just chat to people as well. Chat to as many people as you can.
Yeah. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Similar to Cassandra, I think I've noticed a few younger people come into the business and get given work that they might not like, or might be really boring or really difficult, and they just grovel through it. Speak up if you like, this thing I'm finding really challenging, or I don't get. Speak up, ask the question, and plenty of people are around to help.
Great. Now, there's a special question for Jordan. How do you implement your knowledge in business with your engineering work? Is it an area you would recommend students becoming familiar with?
That's an excellent question. I'll start at the end. Yes, I would absolutely recommend that some level of commercial acumen is a very an important knowledge base if you're going into engineering. At the end of the day, any engineering endeavor is also a commercial endeavor. And sort of what some of my mentors in the office have really impressed upon me is that when it comes to design, you learn that, forgive the old expression, but there's many ways to skin a cat. Design is about finding the best way under a set of conditions. And those conditions are often more than just the actual application. They're also the business environment, you know, who your customers are, what the price point is of this thing, how long it's supposed to be in service for. So the commercial context is also a really important point of reference to help you distinguish between, yes, this option is excellent, but it's over-engineered and it's not commercially viable, whereas this next one is while not quite as high performing, the most appropriate, if that makes sense. So to answer that question more concisely, the background in business is a context against which I evaluate, or we evaluate, our design options and our strategies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Jordan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the alumni panel members involved. If you have your react button there, let's all give them a round of applause and thank them for their time. We love it. We love having you guys back to share your insights, whether you've got 10 years experience or you're fresh out, you're a couple of years out of university. Thank you so much for your time. A few things before we finish up for the day. I just wanted to share our Power Up opportunities. So we've got, we're encouraging everyone to update their details for our jobs list. We are going to be sending another email out to all our members saying, here's our wonderful cohort of students who are interested in working at your organisations. We have our Power Ambassador info session coming up in 2 weeks, and then our next Inside Industry event coming up next month. So please, if you're interested, get involved, sign up using those QR codes. Otherwise, you would have been emailed the information if you're part of the Power Up community. Lastly, before we go, I would love to know how you found today. Was it useful? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you have fun? Did you learn something? We want to know it. I can see someone's given us 5 stars already. That's fantastic. But of course, we would love to hear your feedback as well. So flick us an email at info@api.edu.au if you have any feedback. Otherwise, please scan that QR code and let us know how you found today. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 2 of the Power Up Summit. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, and our staff who helped out. Wonderful. See you later, everyone.